we're going to warm up the room just a little bit more. Aren't you all excited? Nice, nice. Thank you. My name is Dr. Bradley, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Wiley College, and I get the pleasure of saying hello, welcome you all, just bring greetings on behalf of everyone who has worked really hard to make this program happen, on behalf of our Board of Trustees, on behalf of our President. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is a fireside chat, and for those of you that may remember when the presidents used to do fireside chats, and the idea behind them were to just create a space where people could have some familiarity, feel comfortable hearing a message, and just having conversation so that you got to know the subject or the persons who were being engaged around. And so that was the idea behind this concept of a fireside chat with President Felton and Miss Opal Lee. So we're going to be a little bit informal in the sense of really getting to know them getting to know one another in ways that you get to participate in, but also as an opportunity for us to honor Dr. Lee and just continue to feel her energy. We're very excited and proud because she's a Wiley College grad, and we'll just say that a couple more times throughout the day. But also because it's our 150th, and for those of you that know are Wiley grads, you know that how important this day is, and for those of you that don't, by the end of the day, you will know, because we'll say it 1,000 times, okay? Because you only get to say it once 150 years. That was for me. We have a special presentation from a Juneteenth chapter here in Marshall that would come up, and we'll invite them to come present very quickly to Dr. Lee.
I'll be very brief. I got the mic, but good evening, everyone. To our wonderful Miss Opal Lee, we honor you with much gratitude. We did not know, we're the Harrison County Juneteenth Committee, and the Ravenels, Brother Ravenel and Sister Ravenel, are the creators and originators of this idea. And I'm sure they had no idea about 9 years ago, 6 of us sitting in a room of their home had no idea that our thoughts to just honor our people and our legacy would grow to honoring you as well. And you are doing such great work already in this vein. So for us to come along and stand beside you in this work and to honor us in our history, we're honored for you. We call you home. And I'm just really pleased that you came all the way back to be here with us today. So we want to present to you this small plaque, a small gratitude, very small, but it's with much love. We give this to you from the Harrison County Juneteenth Committee. On behalf of, I'm going to let him speak, Brother Ravenel and Sister Ravenel as well.
I'm delighted. And see, when this happens to me and nobody tells me what's going to happen, I want to do a holy dance, but the kids, they say I'm twerking, so. But thank you so much. Here,
Here we go. Marshall Harrison County Juneteenth Committee honors Dr. Opal Lee for your visit, which made Juneteenth a national holiday, given this 18th day of March 2023.
Let's give one more clap on that. Thank you. Thank you all very much. So we are at a moment of introductions. Of course, Miss Dr. Opal Lee does not need any introductions, and President Felton doesn't need any introduction. But I thought, that it would be important to just get a moment with some footage from some of the works that's kind of summarized and introduce Dr. Lee more formally. And so we're going to just take a few minutes and watch a film for about 4 minutes that really tells the story about the work that she's done. And then we'll run right into the fireside chat to begin to explore further. So at this time, we'll take a moment and watch this brief clip.
You're never too old to try to do good.
Tonight, we want to introduce you to Opal Lee, the 93-year-old activist and lifelong Texan who has campaigned to make June 19th a national holiday for years.
If you tell her that you have a need, she's gonna meet it, and she's gonna go to anybody that she can think of that can meet that need.
But she figures out how to do it, and she stays with it until she gets it done.
If we were to document all those differences, all those times that she's made a difference, we would run out of paper with Opal Lee.
She really is what a tapestry of community work looks like at 94.
She's a trailblazer, and she has this sense of you keep going no matter what.
What heroism is someone that goes over and above, all right, the call of duty to do something for someone else.
I'm Opal Lee. I've had these passions.
The community food bank.
Opal's farmer.
United Riverside.
And one of them is Juneteenth.
She got here in 1939. They were able to buy the house on Annie Street. It was a white area of town. They were at home, and the mob came on June 19th to put them out of their house. That had to be the catalyst that made Juneteenth so important to her, that on this day that we're supposed to be celebrating freedom from slavery, that her house gets demolished, burnt up by an angry white mob that doesn't want them in that neighborhood.
Their family stayed here. She's made freedom the celebration instead of focusing on the oppression.
If you don't understand where you've been, then you don't know where you're going. They had the idea to bring back having a Juneteenth celebration, to make sure that, we don't forget to celebrate.
There's folks coming together. There's good food.
There were fireworks in the streets.
She's been doing Juneteenth for over 45 years.
As a kid, felt like to me, it was about the celebration. And as an adult, it's more about what I learned about Juneteenth through celebrating Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is more than a Texas thing. Juneteenth needs to be celebrated across the country. And she felt that if a little old lady, almost 90, because she was 89 at the time, started walking to D.C., someone would take notice.
Did a lot of walking on it, and made a lot of stops in a lot of cities.
We created a petition for Juneteenth to be a national holiday on change.org.
Social media and all the social media platforms, word gets out.
She's building for people and with people. You can't stop that. You can't stop love. You know what I mean? And why would you want to?
Lupita from Black Panther, Usher, Bernie Sanders, Danny Glover, Nico Brim. P. Diddy wants to talk to Miss Opal.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you, Mama.
I am moved, probably as many people are, by her strength. But I think I'm more moved by her humanity.
She'll tell you, none of us are free until we're all free, and we're not free yet.
This is our town and we live here, then what are we gonna make a stand for? What are we gonna improve? How are we gonna help people?
You can do something right now in your own community and impact one life, one stomach, one education.
Opal's a legend, period, in our community, and the world's better off because of her, in Fort Worth especially.
And I'm hoping people, if they don't learn anything else about me, will know to help somebody else. I just hope that will happen.
invite our 17th president, President Felton, to the stage, and Dr. Opal Lee.
Yes, ma'am. You have your mic on. Yes, ma'am. You are mic'd up. I'm sorry, I'm the lucky one today. I really am. This is, in so many ways, a historic day. And being a minor in African American history major, history should not and really shouldn't be codified, I believe, as African American history. I think it is American history. I want to be very clear that I have all the reverence for our history, but I think our history is so rich that to simply codify it as Black history does it a disservice. And for that reason, I think you being Americana as a staple in the struggle, I think it is a really big deal and an honor for me today to be here. So selfishly, I wanted to get that out of the way. Want to welcome you back home as an alumnus. We're so proud. Tasha, Dr. Bradley did no justice in saying that we say that all the time. You'll probably hear it for the rest of your time here. You all will as well. We will continue to say how proud we are of you and all of our alums who really feed into this notion of being a beacon on the hill and a shining light. As president of this institution, it's been a pleasure to learn about all of our alumni. Each have unique and compelling stories, and I'm curious about yours. Can you tell us about your early life here in Marshall, and don't leave out the bad, mischievous experiences as a little person?
If he could come to Marshall to go to Bishop, my grandfather gave him permission. But when my mom wanted to come, he said no. And he said it over and over. And finally she says, if I can't go to school in Marshall, then I'm gonna marry Judge Dunbar. And he was the doofus in the neighborhood. My grandfather let her come. And that's where she met my father at Central High School. He asked my grandfather if they could marry him. My grandfather, who was mischievous, said, you sure you want this one? As if he had some others he could choose from. But my mom told him, you gotta build me this house. And she drew it for him that she had seen on an excursion with the 4-H club group to Tuskegee. She gave it to him. She didn't hear from him for 2 years. He came back and told her he'd build that house right here on University.
Wow.
1,500. So I'm it. I'm the first one.
You're the first.
Yeah, there were 3 of us. Well, I wanted to go to the kindergarten, and the lady said I was too young, and my mom kept worrying her about it. And she finally took me in. I think it was Carter Street, right down off this. She told my mom to come back and get me because I was fighting and biting and
Was this on the first day of school, or?
she might have kept me a day or two before she told my mom to come get me. But it was around Christmas and the kids were falling out with the flu and whatever. And as bad as I was, I knew all their parts in the play. So the play did go on. After that, I could do no wrong.
Wow. So Carter School, what was the name of the school, the elementary?
The elementary was Newtown.
Newtown.
Mm-hmm.
So did you notice a bit of activism when did you notice first that you had a bit of activism in you?
I don't know, but my grandparents, he would bring somebody to my grandmother. Now, they got 19 children, and he'd say, Matsy, find him some food, give him some clothes and a place to stay. And when my mom moved to Marshall, he'd send somebody up here to her, help them get on their feet. Mm-hmm. You know, it's always been a part of our DNA to help people.
What type of student were you, and why did you decide to attend Wiley?
Do you want to know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess I was pretty good because I finished high school at 16. Okay. And Wiley was the only college I knew because it was right here in Marshall, and I was born here, and every time something went on at Wiley, especially at the ball games and Wiley would win, they'd ring that bell and everybody in Marshall would be so proud of what had happened at Wiley, you know.
So the bell was wrong for sporting events, debate events, you name it, the bell was wrong.
Yes, it was. And so there was no other school that I would go to except you need to know that when I finished high school, and my mom was oh so proud she was sending me to Wiley, I got married. Oh, she was so disappointed. She wouldn't even go to the wedding at Baker Chapel that we had.
Where's Baker Chapel located?
AME Church, okay. Baker Chapel in Fort Worth. It took me 4 years and 4 babies to realize I was going to have to raise that husband too. So I cut my losses. I went home to my mother with these 4 babies and had nerve enough to say, I'm ready to go to Wiley now. She says, I got no money to send you to nobody's college. But she said she'd keep my children. And I worked. Oh, you don't know how many jobs I worked to get the money to come to Wiley. Guess what I did? I spent it. I bought the children a television so she wouldn't have to run all over the neighborhood looking for it. And I came down here without a dime. Mrs. Cole, Dr. Cole's wife, put me to work in the college bookstore. Now, I hadn't quit that job in Fort Worth because I didn't know what was going to happen. My mom kept the job during the week. I'd go back to Fort Worth and work it on the weekends. She'd collect the paycheck. The work got done. We all looked alike. And I had to get through down here in 3.5 years. I couldn't stay 4.
So that pretty much sums up what type of student you were while you were here at Wiley.
Yes.
You knew exactly why you were here.
Oh, but I did. And I want those youngsters who are here now to understand getting that education means everything. And I know that parents, they get uptight with them sometimes, but they've got to understand without it, nothing.
Do you have any interesting stories while you were a student here of individuals that intrigued you and sort of began or sort of solidified the activism that was in your DNA that maybe activated it?
I don't know whether you call this activism or not. Couple, young people who had known each other, maybe ready to get married after they finished Wiley. And I was paired with a young man that I didn't know. And so we went on a date. Well, we ended up at some motel. And so the fella was maybe 2 or 3 shades to the wind. We get in this room, and I know what's expected. I said to it, while he was getting in this bed, I'm going next door to get something. Do you know I put my big foot in the road and walked back to Marshall? Oh, they teased him so the next day. I don't know whether that answers your question or not.
It was kind of intriguing, a little bit.
But
I want you to tell me about a particular faculty member that that inspired you to really do the type of work that you've done. I really believe, as you said, it's been in your DNA, but maybe helped energize it.
Listen, I'm looking at him. He was tall. Name doesn't come to mind. But he taught us that it was our responsibility to bring our races, he said, out of the quagmire that we were in. He told us, and he showed us that nothing should stand in our way if we believed in what we were doing. If it was legitimate, if it was going to help family, friends, and others, we were to keep going regardless, that there would be bumps in the road, but it was left up to us to get over these obstacles. Oh, I wish I could call his name. He taught history. I'm sorry. You're not hearing me? I'm sorry. Okay.
We cut that one off to make sure that your voice is amplified. I think social change, driving it, activism, whatever you want to call it, I think we can all agree that it is a superpower. Certainly, it can be identified as a superpower for you doing it as long as you have. Where do you think that tenacity came from to focus in on several issues, but to have the tenacity to sustain that?
I know it came from my grandparents and my mother. My grandparents left Herman, Louisiana, 2 covered wagons, 5 children, because they'd acquired 40 acres in Texarkana and 40 acres in Ben Lomond. Now, they didn't have hands to help them, so they grew them. They ended up with 19 children. But whatever my grandfather undertook, he didn't stop until it was done. I know that my mother operated in the same vein. When we left Marshall during the Depression going to Fort Worth. We left on Saturday. She was in somebody's kitchen working on Sunday. And she saw that we went to school on Monday in the tiny little school that had been built on a city dump in Fort Worth. But they always, I never saw them give way to despair or whatever they took to their hand to do, they did it, come hell or high water.
So those formative years were really fortified by action. You saw your mother, your grandparents doing sermons rather than preaching sermons. How do you think that seeing that daily, night in and night out, though during your formative years, how do you think that helped you in your quest to have the nation see this notion of freedom, not just a localized Texas celebration, but a national, international celebration?
I believe the young people here know the story of how General Gordon Granger made his way to Galveston with several thousand colored troops, they were called, and told the people in Galveston that the enslaved people there, 250,000 of them, were free. That, I believe, was the beginning of our learning and making a way for ourselves. We had been told what to do, told what to eat, told what to wear. But we came out of slavery, establishing schools, hospitals, institutions, and I just believe that that is still in our veins. I can't see where it'd be anyplace else.
Inextricably tied together.
Yes.
Before we move from your formative years, I want to ask you one question. What was your favorite meal at home, and what was your favorite meal in the cab or the rectory here?
Here, it was food. Here, I don't care what it was. It was food. But my mother was an extremely good cook. And I ate everything but yams. I still don't eat yams. And if you want to hear that story.
We have time.
She'd fix the meal for she and her husband and myself. And when he'd come in from work, he had told her, feed the child so we can have our meal together. I'd see my dad coming. I'd tell my mom, I'm hungry. And he'd fuss with her. I told you to feed that kid. I did that one time too many. And she sat me down, and I ate, and I played, and I said, I'm through. She says, no, eat some more. She said before it was over, she had me across her lap, and she punched these potatoes. She says it's a wonder she hadn't killed me. I don't eat yams.
I see. Got me looking at yams a little differently already. What was it about social change that moved you? What about social change really got you going?
I'm not really sure because I didn't participate in the marches in Fort Worth. I was so busy making a living for those 4 children, but my daughter did. My daughter and her group picketed the largest department store in Fort Worth, Leonard Brothers. And they were wanting to be able to try on the clothes, to be clerks at the Lennox department store, and they were successful. And one of the Lennox right now was on that film, and we're really good friends. But I just believe that the people in Fort Worth got together more often maybe than they did other places because we didn't have the types of things that I read about and saw in other places. I don't know if we were what you call laid back or we got things done, but we didn't have the crises that others.
Let's talk, shift to Juneteenth, the idea of Juneteenth. How did the mobilization of the Juneteenth celebration, how did that happen, and how did it dwarf into something that was celebrated, citywide?
You see, here in Marshall, we celebrated Juneteenth. We go to what was called the fairgrounds west of town. There'd be ball games and food, music and food, speeches and food and food and food and food. When we got to Fort Worth, not so much. People sort of celebrated with family and friends. But I met Lenora Roller in her 90s, tall, straight, didn't wear glasses. The city of Fort Worth had asked her to gather the materials that blacks had done because they were having a 175th anniversary. But she couldn't find anything written, absolutely nothing. So she started the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society. I'm one of its members. Juneteenth's one of its programs. We had 30,000 people in a tiny little Sycamore Park, 10,000 people a day. And did we have fun? The Historical Society took exhibits to the park. Don't think people paid much attention. And we knew that at 10 o'clock or thereabouts, they'd pull a plug, the lights would go out, we needed to go home. But one time when they did that, I got on a flatbed truck and put that thing back in and we partied till dawn. But Dr. Ronald Myers came to Fort Worth, Dallas. He was all over the place. He was a minister, he was a medical doctor, and a jazz musician all rolled into one. And he was adamant about Juneteenth being a national holiday. He's responsible for some 46 states having Juneteenth celebrations of one kind or another. So, I tell you that the Juneteenth Doc just seemed to have spread it all over the place. That's how I know it got started.
Family is obviously really important to you, and advocacy is really important to you. How did you balance the advocacy and the family?
I don't know. I just know it got done. And young people, because I had the help of my family. Family is so important to you. If my mother hadn't kept my children while I was here at Wiley, I never would have made it. So I beg people to be sure you have a support group to help you because you're going to need them. And when I finished Wiley and went home and got a job teaching that paid $2,000 a year, I couldn't feed 4 kids on no $2,000. I got another job. My mom's still helping me. And so if I clocked in at school at 8 and out at 3 there'd be a car waiting for me, I clocked in at 4 and off at 12 at Lockheed Martin. I'd still been working like that, but they laid people off a lot that night, you know.
Thank God they laid you off. Do you recall one particular person that inspired you outside of your family to do the advocacy work that you do?
I just know that Hazel Harvey Peace was the vice president the vice principal at I Am Terrell. I don't think she weighed 120 pounds dripping wet. But when she spoke, you listened. And Miss Peace put into everybody that went to I Am Terrell, it's more, you've got more to do than just for yourself and your family. We left there knowing that we had things to do.
When did the idea of Juneteenth becoming a national holiday occur? And talk to me a little bit about that process of coming up to the day when it was made into history. When did you get the idea?
I was about 89, and I got to thinking. I had 4 children. I taught school. We started a food bank. We have a farm. But maybe there was something else that needed to be done. And I know maybe some of Doc rubbed off on me because I decided, and I had some others that I discussed it with, to walk from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., 1,400 miles. I just felt like if a little old lady in tennis shoes was walking, somebody was going to take notice. Well, we got some people at my church, Baker Chapel, and they gave me this send-off, and I walked the 2.5 miles. And I started there the next time, and I walked Fort Worth, Arlington, Grand Prairie, I walked Dallas, Joppa, Box Springs. My team says I wouldn't be doing it like that because somebody had promised us an RV, and he decided that what I was doing was too political, and he kept his old RV. So my team says you'll only go where you were invited and where people have Juneteenth observances of some kind or another. I was invited all over these United States. Shreveport, Texarkana, Little Rock, Denver, Colorado Springs, Atlanta, Chicago, the Carolinas, all over. So now if I started September 2016, I actually got to Washington January 2017. We had asked President Obama to walk with us from the Frederick Douglass House to the Capitol. He was in Chicago. I didn't get what I wanted, but this young fella named P. Diddy helped me get 1,500,000 signatures that we took to Congress. And we were prepared to take that many more when we got the call to the White House. I tell you, to be in the White House with the president and the vice president and the legislators, now that's when I could have done a holy dance. But the kids say I'm twerking.
I think you should have did your dance. What was that like? Being, I saw you light up when you interfaced with P. Diddy. And I'm sure that was really special for you.
It was. Hey, and they've invited me back since. I was there for Christmas. I went to
At the White House?
the White House and the Vice President's house, and I went to her house. And I have a question that I ask her all the time, but she never answers me. And I ask her husband the same question. He says, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Because I'm asking, is she going to run for president?
You wanted to break the news yourself, huh?
So when I get to the president's, I get to the White House, it's lit up like a fairyland. I mean, the Marine band and all the decoration. I said to the president, you know, we're meeting so often, we're going to end up being kissing cousins.
The White House is the White House. Was that your first time ever at the White House?
No.
Okay.
When President Obama was there, I was able to make a tour.
Okay.
And Mrs. Obama, you know, guided the tour through the rooms. But this time, it wasn't the Oval Office. Whatever office it was, I tell you, maybe if whatever office it was just close, real close to being in the Oval Office, you know. And it was like being on hollow ground. It was really, really, I don't know another experience I've had like that.
So you weren't in the space where all the visitors were. You actually got a chance to visit there. Okay. Thinking about your experience, your grandparents' experience, horse carriage, covered carriage, moving from one state to another, that culmination of getting to the White House and retrospectively thinking about from whence your mother and grandparents came from, did it have a different kind of feeling for you, knowing that those are places that they had never been, probably couldn't go to, etc.?
Not really. You know, people like me, we take one day at a time. So I've got memories from hearing them talk about coming from Horton, Louisiana in 2 covered wagons. I've got memories about that. I've got memories about my grandparents coming to Marshall to get my mom when she got sick at school in a wagon and taking her back. I've got memories of when my mom paid somebody to drive us from Marshall to Texarkana because we spent summers in Texarkana with our grandparents, you know. And I got memory of riding the train from Fort Worth, from Marshall to Fort Worth, and thinking we weren't going to ever get there. I've got memories of driving from Marshall to work in Fort Worth and back, and how tired I was on Monday because I had work to do here.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
What is that, your portrait hanging in the Texas legislature? What does that mean to you?
listen, to be in a portrait in the Texas Legend next to Barbara Jordan? Oh, I tell you, I don't even know how to describe it. And it never occurred to me that it would ever happen. But just think, they're gonna move some of them other Confederates because they're gonna be some other people they gonna hang.
On that note, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that Barbara Jordan is actually next to Opal Lee.
I admire her. Oh, how I admire Barbara Jordan. And I've met her more than once, too. But gee, there are so many other women who have contributed so much. And I dare say, your wife, Dr. Cole's wife, there are other women in our churches who have contributed so much to the growth of what's happening with us. And these young people right here at this college, there will be young women who will go out and surpass whatever we've done.
If it's done right, that's what should be done. You're now an author. What compelled you to write this book?
I wanted the children to know the story of Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a children's story. So we've got some copies out here someplace. But if you start the youngsters knowing what actually happened, they have to make decisions that it doesn't happen again. And it could easily happen again. If we don't go and vote, if we keep saying, well, that's their business, I ain't gonna get involved in that. Every person needs to vote. And that's the way it's gonna get us out of the quagmire that we are in. I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I insist that you make yourself a committee of one to change somebody's mind. Because their minds need to be changed. If people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's left up to you young people to do it. It's your responsibility. And I don't know if I'm off on a tangent or not, but
You can go off on whatever tangent you want to go off on. Before we close with the final question, would like to give the audience an opportunity to ask time to take a few questions. So if there's anyone, would you please come to the front and ask your questions?
Thank you. Hello. I actually don't have a question. I just wanted to say hello. I'm actually Tom and Eva Cole's granddaughter. And so I love that you mentioned them. My name is Keisha, and I just want to say thank you and bring greetings on behalf of the Cole family.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions?
Let me.
There's a.
I'm Christopher Holloway Jr., an interdisciplinary major study here at Wiley College. And the first thing I want to say to you is, Ms. Opal, I look up to you in so many different ways. I appreciate your activism in the ways that you have furthered the Black community and the work that you're still doing. The question that I have for you today is, though, what's your advice to a current Wiley student that has that spirit of activism in them and wants to get involved?
I'm going to ask you young people first to be sure that you've completed your work here. That doesn't mean you can't be an activist at the same time, but don't let your studies suffer. And then pick the things that are going to help your community. I know the Black Lives Matter has galvanized people. I want you to be sure whatever it is that you propose will help your community. It will open the eyes of the people in your community. And you are going to need to be ready to know that there's going to be resistance. So be sure if you take that route, you know the consequences.
Anyone else? Any more questions? Yes, ma'am. We have one more question.
Dr. Lee, I'm Risa Anderson. I had firsthand experience in working with Dr. Lee in Fort Worth, Texas during Juneteenth. And I just want to tell you, you are a phenomenal woman. I learned so much from you in working in the community, your kindness, your inclusivity of people in the community, your lovingness. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate it. I've used some of your skills and techniques over the years, and you probably never did know, but I'm telling you today, you are wonderful. God bless you.
I know this is gratuitous, but what's next for Dr. Opal Lee? What's next?
I'm going to keep on walking and keep on talking because there are still disparities that we have to address. There's the homelessness. We're too rich a country to have homeless people and jobless people and health care that some of us can get and others can't, and climate change that we are responsible for. If we don't do something about climate change, we're all going to hell in a handbasket. So we need to address these things. So, hey, I got some more years left in me.
I understand that you clearly have left your mark, and there's an effort to put a structure in place that will amplify that. You want to talk about that?
I do. I thought you'd never ask. We are going to have the National Juneteenth Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. I've got the plans here someplace, but let me tell you, it's a $70 million project. Oh, happy day. Oh, look at that if you can. Look at that. And do you know what? That's a drawing that we used to live in shotgun houses. I don't know if you know that. But those are the porches of shotgun houses. And that building is going to be reminiscent of shotgun houses. $70 million? We're going to raise $40 million of it in Fort Worth before we come out here to Marshall and every place else. We're going to raise, and it's going to open June 19, 2025. Now, I'm rushing. I want it to open sooner. You know, ain't no day promised to us.
That's right.
Look at that. It's fabulous.
Yes.
The Lord has been extremely good to me. I have had some traumatic things happen. I mean, things that would, you know, shut you down. But there's a God up there that guides you and looks after you. And I'm hoping you know him as well as I do, because he'll bring you through whatever. I rely on him.
Thank you. We have another question. There we go.
Good afternoon. My name is Melba Baker from Houghton, Louisiana, and I want to first thank her for everything you ever did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you mentioned a town in Louisiana, but I did not hear it. So can I hear the name of the town your parents was from?
The name of the town in Louisiana that you have roots to.
Herman, Louisiana. Then I got relatives in Shreveport. There's another town.
Did you say Hortman?
Yes.
Hortman,
Louisiana is where my grandfather is from.
Okay.
And so let me give you something else. My grandfather's mother was a runaway slave.
Hush your mouth.
His name is Broadus. That's the last name. Broadous. Broadus. He's Zachary Broadus, the Reverend Zachary Broadus. Nobody in that community knew of Broadus. There were no Broaduses from there. So I found out that Harriet Tubman was from a Broadus plantation. I've not made the connection, but I'm trying to.
Okay. Thank you.
You've given so much to so many. And in closing, I'd ask this final question. What would you say to us? What would you leave to us as guiding light?
I wish I could come back down here. I don't understand. When I went from Wiley up to Newtown School, it has disintegrated. I don't know why somebody didn't repurpose the buildings. And there are other landmarks that I see that need to be repurposed. I don't know why young people, when they graduate from Wiley, they go back, but this town could use some of them. I just visualize black people having industries and all kinds of things that would support this town. Do you realize that Wiley is the biggest industry in it? And you need some of you to stay around and make sure that all the streets are paved, that they have sidewalks. Gee, there's so much to be done in Marshall. I'll come through and help you, but
It's probably what we're missing. We need you to come on back. On behalf of our Board of Trustees, our alumni, your brothers and sisters, our students, our staff, we say thank you. We know that the honors that we've given you fall short, we believe, but it was the best that we could do. And raising thy banner high, the Opal Lee banner high, is what we will do forever. We thank you for your leadership nationally and internationally, and we thank you for always remembering home. You are
And I
always
want
welcome.
everybody else to understand, home should never be forgotten. I don't care where you go, home.
I think you can drop your mic there. I think we're done. Thank you all for coming out today. We appreciate it. And please give her another hand, please.